Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about staying connected and the different iterations of staying connected and why that is what we're supposed to do, and how when it comes to human programming we are trained to stay connected, and how when you get to certain parts of ascension that's really not what you're going to want to do anymore, and you're not going to want to feel drawn to do that. So this came up for me a couple of days ago. I was watching something and they were talking about back, 20, 30 years ago, if you broke up with a person, then, you didn't really see him again. It wasn't like now where everything kind of stays meshed together and connected. I remember thinking how that would feel really strange, to people nowadays, never seeing a person again. Or not seeing them. I guess you can never say never, I guess, till you completed a certain part of your human ascension life, and it felt like it would be a strange thing, to not see people again. So it kind of puts us down a path as to, if we're all connected, and we know we all are, and we learn that more and more through our process, our ascension process, we learn that we are all connected, and we're supposed to stay connected. But that doesn't mean we have to be together. And I think that's kind of the iteration of staying connected and being together. And can we stay connected but not be intertwined? And these are some of the lessons we learn through our ascension process as we ascend our consciousness and ascend our body consciousness, become aware of our human programming, become aware of our human tendencies, and starting to go the opposite way. And that's really what ascension is. It's living from our higher aspects. It's becoming our higher aspects. It's seeing our human programming, transcending it, and not living by it. So when we start to think about being connected or not being connected, can you stay connected but not stay involved? It was easier a long time ago, many years ago, in linear time. We're going to go linear time for a while just to kind of make a point. Everything the human world sets up is to keep you in the human loop, right? There's a reason why, the phones were, it's funny because the phones and all this technology we have, we said, okay, it's going to keep everyone connected. But when you look at the type of connection, we're really not connected. To me, I think we're more disconnected than ever, even though we have so many things to connect us, because we have gotten used to connecting on a very superficial level. And that's the kind of thing you start to become very aware of through your ascension process. You don't want to text people anymore. You want to talk to them if you want to communicate with them. You don't want to text people. You don't want to go on social media and like something or heart something, or it just, we start to crave actual connection with people. Now the issue we start to run into is you can only connect with someone as deep as you're connected within yourself. So there's going to be a lot of parts of your ascension process where you feel like you're not really connecting with anybody, or you connect for very short term, very short amounts of time, and because either we have more work to do, they have more work to do, and we can't really get to the depth of that connection, or it comes with a lot of human stuff involved in it. And when it comes with a lot of human stuff involved in it, then we will feel that constraint. We'll start to feel the knots in that. So things that were supposed to keep us connected and were kind of touted to keep us connected now have us very separated. And like I said, a lot of us get off of a lot of that stuff for a while or abandon it altogether because the connections aren't real. And it becomes so superficial that even people you used to know, you feel like you don't really know them anymore. You don't know anything about what's going on with them because what you see is just the persona, the virtual persona of people. So those connections start to feel very hollow. So then we start to go out and say, okay, why am I having such a hard time connecting? What do I really want in that connection? And then we have the flip of that, where are we supposed to stay connected? Can you stay connected but not stay involved? And that was easier many linear moons ago. Whereas now it's kind of like that's been turned against us in a sense. I don't really like the word against, but that's kind of how it can feel sometimes. That societal pressure is to not speak to people. Societal pressure, a human societal pressure, and we're going to kind of separate that out. The human societal pressure is to not talk to people, to stay friends with everybody, and that's just the human non-connection connection. That even if you go down that path, and whether you're in your awakening, whether you're just starting your journey, and you're in the very beginning of your awakening, or maybe you haven't even felt the shaking of your awakening yet, and you're just in your very beginning phases. It's important to really just understand that trying to follow human systems and do ascension, it cannot be done for long. You eventually have to choose, and when you start to do that, that means pulling out of a lot of stuff. That means disconnecting from the outside world, because you cannot disconnect from the outside world. That disconnection allows you to connect within, right? That's how you get there. If you don't disconnect, then you cannot connect from within. But there's a lot of human pressure to stay connected, no matter what happens between 2 or 3 people. You still like, oh no, you should still stay friends, or you should still, be virtual friends, whatever. But when we realize that's no connection, then that starts to wane. We don't care about that stuff. We don't care how it looks. We don't care how it looks to others. We don't care how it looks to ourselves, really, because the relationship technically that person had a relationship with was not us anymore. It was a different person. So it doesn't even feel like we should stay connected with them. I know I went through a phase where I still do it, but I used to do a lot more in my earlier years, where I would just completely, pretty much get rid of everyone. If I went down through my phone and did not know who they were, or I had not talked to them for over a year, I would just get rid of the numbers. And I did that for a long time, because to me it was also getting rid of a reality. It was a way to tell my universe I was ready to move on from the reality I was in. It was stop hanging on to some relationships, because the one thing that gets tougher is because like I said, this is an all around the world type of, just one discussion on connection. We could talk for 5 hours on connection and how it shifts and changes. We are always connected. Energetically, you're always connected. You can't sever that connection. Now, you can start to tune the connection out. You can start to just, I don't want to say ignore the connection, but you just don't give it a lot of energy or attention. But you're always still connected. And as you need to tune in to see what's going on with someone, it's very easy to tune in to see what's going on with someone once you reach a certain point, that you're tuning in from a very pure place, not tuning in to do the psychic spying that used to be a big buzzword maybe 5 or 10 years ago. You're just tuning in to see, especially if you start to see a lot of things going on, or you hear from someone you haven't heard from in a while, and if you haven't gotten back with them yet, you might tune in to see what is going on with them. Let me check in. You can do that energetically. Sometimes people then will do social media to kind of see, what is going on with this person. I haven't heard from them in a while, and all of a sudden they did, so now I'm kind of a little curious, right, as to what is going on with someone. So as the connections change, you have to understand where you are with it. Can you stay connected with a person but not be intertwined? Are you able to do that in your physical world, in the reality you're in now? Is that a possibility, or do you feel like you have to work through and resolve the intertwining? And that means you don't really have a emotional reaction to what goes on in their life, in a sense. You can be a bystander. Can you be a bystander and let them go through what they need to go through? Can you be a bystander and allow them to do what they need to do? Or is it going to be too difficult? Are you going to try to interfere? Or are you going to take it personal? A lot of this journey is learning not to take stuff personal, and not to get upset when people leave, when people want to try to come back, if you feel like there's reality where they should come back. When do you sever the like I said, we're going to use severing the connection, but you really technically can never sever the connection, but just in the sense of not being in their day-to-day reality. And that's how we're going to kind of define that for this video. When to sever the connection. When do you know you're just not in that conscious enough place yet to not get intertwined? And that could take years down the road, and that can take a very long time to not be able to be intertwined. And don't mistake physical talking to someone as not having that connection or that intertwined jumble. Some people call them cords of attachment. You'll see that all the time. That phrase. Can you do it without having the cords of attachment? Can you do it without feeling that? Just because someone's not personally in your reality, you can still have a cord of attachment to them. So kind of take out the physical component of it. In certain stages, you have to look at it like that too. It doesn't really matter if they're physically there. If you still feel the cords of attachment, you're still kind of connected, but not connected in a we're all connected kind of way, connected in a I'm personally invested kind of way. And we stop being personally invested in what people are and what people are doing, because us being personally invested then drags us into whatever is going on. So there's I could do I think I could do I could do a class on this. Maybe I should. Feels like once I started, it got a lot more convoluted than I thought it was going to get. Being connected and having someone not physically there, having someone physically there but not feeling the connection at all. That's another iteration you're going to find too, where someone can be in your reality, but you feel no connection to them. They're there because they're an older aspect of you. They're always going to be there because they have some kind of aspect of you within them or they couldn't hold there. If they're still holding there, but you feel no cord, you feel no attachment, and you almost wonder why they're there, to show you what's still inside of you. There's so many different ways this goes, and so many different times when you might not be sure. You might not be sure. You might think I've severed the attachment to that, and then you see the person and you realize, oh, I haven't. Or you hear something about the person and you realize, oh, I haven't. That used to happen to me quite a bit, where I think I was in a different place until I heard from the person, or I heard from the person through another person. And then I'm like, oh no, I've still got work to do. And that's why those situations happen. We set those situations up so we can see, kind of check in where we are. Because sometimes our universe keeps these people away, because we're not ready to re-enter into the relationship. They keep the people away, and we keep the people away just by our frequency. Our frequency's not at a place to be in any type of reality with them, whether they just don't match. There's no judgment in where anybody is, but the frequencies just don't match. And if they just don't match, you can't hold together. So you're going to find a lot of that too, where sometimes these people are consciously not going to be there. And our universe makes sure that they're not. They are removed, in a sense. Sometimes we will remove ourselves from things, and sometimes people have to be removed, because if not, we would not remove ourselves. We are too involved in it. We are too intertwined in it. We are too invested in it. Maybe because we put a lot of time into it. Maybe because we put a lot of, energy, time, money. It's all energy. We put a lot of that in it. We put our heart into it. We put our soul into it. We'll have a lot of story about why. You'll have so much about why we can't just leave it and go. There's always going to be this big montage. It was, like those big 80s montages in movies and in TV shows where you just hear the music behind it. And that's almost what happens when you start to tell the story. You just see the whole montage of everything you did, and it can't go be for nothing. And it's never for nothing. Because everything got you to a different frequency. You might not have liked the ride. You might not like the way it went down. You might not like the way it ended. Most of the time, we don't like the way it ended. I know most of these things, especially when we talk about romantic connections, very few people like the way those things ended. Everyone usually has a beef with how it ended, or, well, I wish it would have ended this way. Well, I wish it would have gone this way. And if I can only have another chance to do it again, all those types of things we say when we're just starting to exit a lot of those relationships and trying to connect with people when we're at a different frequency, when we're in a different part of our ascension. And we feel like some of those aren't working either, because everyone's in a different frequency and where they are in their ascension process. So connections are going to be a big thing. I feel like this year you're going to see a lot of connections that'll be removed. You'll remove yourself from a lot of them. Some are just going to get severed in general. And if you don't feel like you can do it yourself, your universe will take it out if it's not aligned, for you to be there anymore. And a lot of people get alignment confused. I'm going to do a stream this Wednesday night on a different channel, and I'll post the link in the community later, about things being aligned. Because we do think because something's aligned, it's going to be awesome. There's this misconception, right? If it's so aligned, it can be awesome. a lot of soul aligned things we do still don't feel awesome because we have to clear a lot of our human stuff. That's why we're in there. They're aligned for our soul, but our human might still not enjoy them. You know, soulmates, twin flames, are not the best experiences we're going to have. They're there to show us and teach us and get us to go deeper and connect deeper within ourselves and clear out what's preventing us from having that connection with yourself. Your connection with yourself is the most important connection. It is the one seed connection, in a sense, to use a different term. It is the one you're going to be always cultivating. Everything else is just to get you there. And once you've gotten that connection so thoroughly within yourself, then you can feel the connections with others and feel where it doesn't feel like it's there anymore. You might have felt really connected to a person, now you don't anymore. And you're like, how can I feel so disconnected from this person I used to feel so connected to? It could be, you know, someone you used to think of as a friend, or even family members, or even people you just used to be really connected to from a consciousness standpoint. Now you feel like everyone is so in a different place. That's going to happen all the time because so many of these relationships are not meant to be forever. You know, they're not like the human, and a lot of the human relationships for foreverness. I mean, that's all just human beliefs and human standards and practices, in a sense, that we have to stay in these things forever, and that's what we're going to do, and that's caused a lot of upheaval in the human realities for decades and centuries, because that's not really how the soul works. The soul does not work on absolutes. The soul does not work on forevers. The soul works on, you know, what's aligned in this moment and then what's aligned in the next moment. So as you work through your connections, as you even look at how you're connecting with people, you know, am I going the extra mile to connect with someone, or am I doing a very superficial connection? And maybe for now that's all right, because you're connecting with yourself and that's what you feel like you need to do. But are we depending too much on that? Are we depending too much on, I mean, I've had people I'll be standing right next to and won't say anything to me, and then I'll get something on one of my social things later saying that, oh, they wanted to say hello but they didn't have time, or they wanted to say hello but there were other people in the room, or they, you know, and they just want to say, type hello. You know, or you'll get those texts that say, hey, how are you? And sometimes we'll fall into that. And I think definitely in my human consciousness, I started falling into that a lot. And you start to see how superficial it is, and how it's really not the connection. In a way, a lot of the human realities are promises not kept, right? Promises we're agreeing to ourselves and not keeping. Like, we'll be more connected with people. All I find now is that it just separates everybody. You know, you can have people right in front of you and everyone's in their own virtual world and not paying any attention to who's in front of them. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think there's a lot of different ways we can go with this. A lot of different iterations of connections. I might do a whole series on it, actually, because I think there's a lot of different components we can pick apart here. So that'll get us started, give you some stuff to think about. Keep practicing the art of intuition.